Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Thank you for your support. There is a Donna box for contributions in the kitchen and also a link for contributions on the website.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so good to be here with you and the Zendo, you, my friends online. Let me see if I can see everybody. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Today's Dharma talk. And I also want to welcome anyone who may see or hear this Dharma talk in the future, in the cloud or on YouTube. The title of today's Dharma talk is the Sutra that explains the profound secret, the third turning of the Wheel of Dharma. So many of us are taking the Mahasangha 8-month course on the Paramitas, the 6 perfections. Living the Paramitas day by day, moment by moment, is the life of bodhisattvas. This is how we live by vow. I'd like to start with what is probably a review for most of you. As we study the Dharma teachings, we learn that there is a relative and an ultimate aspect to practicing the Paramitas. Take the Paramita of generosity, for example. Relative generosity is dualistic. I give this to you. This is a good thing. I've in some small way relieved your suffering. Or maybe it's the other way around. In some small way, you've relieved my suffering. We are living by vow. But the paramita of generosity is perfected by prajna paramita. Prajna paramita, the perfection of wisdom, is the 6th perfection, but it is also the ultimate and perfect nature of each of the paramitas. When we practice generosity with a mind of prajna paramita, you could say we practice with a deep sense of connection to everyone and everything. There is a dropping away of the sense of a separate giver, gift, and receiver. Because of prajna paramita, we begin to understand that there is no permanent, unchanging self of anything. The perfection of wisdom takes us beyond duality. Instead, living by vow becomes a lovely transcendent dance. Reb Anderson says in his book, Entering the Mind of Buddha, when we remember and practice the 6 paramitas in our daily lives, we open to the realization that we are not anything external to the dynamic process of giving, ethics, patience, heroic effort, and concentration. Under the auspices of perfect wisdom, the first 5 practices leap beyond all ideas of their function, and thus they become the function of wisdom going beyond wisdom. Wisdom that is constantly leaping beyond itself and taking all the other 5 practices along with it. But how do we live life in this way? How do we live the paramitas as wisdom beyond wisdom? When we cook supper, take our kids to school, work on a project with office colleagues, or participate with each other as this Appamada Sangha. Something that can help with this dilemma is the teachings of the third turning of the Wheel of Dharma. So, keeping in mind that speaker, what is spoken, and listeners are actually all arising together, let's explore these teachings. There have been 3 turnings of the Wheel of Dharma. In other words, 3 phases of the Dharma teachings. The first turning began when the Buddha began to teach the 4 Noble Truths and the 12 dependent arisings. The 4 Noble Truths teach the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth that suffering can be relieved, and the truth of the path, and the truth of the path to the relief of suffering. The 12 dependent arisings teach that nothing exists in and of itself alone. There are causes and conditions for everything. These teachings laid the ethical and conceptual foundation for all the teachings to be revealed in the centuries to come. Reb Anderson says this about the first turning of the wheel. The Buddha had to speak in a language that the people listening to him could understand. So in this first turning of the Dharma wheel, he offered a conceptual, logical teaching. Reb Anderson goes on to say, the first turning of the wheel was a personal and conceptual path to individual liberation and the relief of suffering. Then, about 500 years later, the world was ready for the second turning of the wheel. These teachings come to us as the Diamond Sutra and the Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra. The Heart Sutra is about emptiness. Without first being well grounded in the Four Noble Truths, these teachings can seem to totally blow up our practice world. Quoting from the Heart Sutra, given emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sight, no sound, and so forth, including no path and no attainment. It can mistakenly seem like none of the teachings of the Four Noble Truths are relevant, so why bother? It can seem as if nothing you say or do matters because nothing exists. But the emptiness teachings of the Heart Sutra are not nihilistic. They don't teach that nothing exists, only that there is no permanent, unchanging self of anything. Norman Fisher describes it like this. Things are empty of their own being, but full of their connection to everything else that isn't them. It is this awareness of emptiness, of own being, that lies at the heart of our connection to everything. We begin to practice not only for ourselves, but for the well-being and liberation of all. With the second turning of the wheel, Mahayana Buddhism was born, and this is the form of Buddhism we practice at Appamada. The Heart Sutra says, with nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita. So, a bodhisattva, you and I, rely on the perfection of wisdom. Exactly how one does this in day-to-day life is a guiding question for me, and perhaps it is for you too. How does one allow prajna paramita to perfect each of the paramitas? It is one thing to hold emptiness wisdom as a theory, and very much another thing to live it day by day. The third turning of the wheel offers us some help. The third turning of the Wheel of Dharma comes to us 2nd century Common Era with the Samdhinirmocana Sutra, a teaching of the Yogacara school of Buddhism. Samdhinirmocana translates as the sutra that explains the profound secret. There can be a lot of confusion about how to practice. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. The third turning of the Dharma wheel gives us some clues about how to train in the perfection of each of the paramitas. Little by little, perfect wisdom can begin to permeate the moments of our lives. Reb Anderson explains it like this. The first turning of the wheel constructed a path of liberation. The second turning refutes the path, and the third turning accepts the refutation of the path. The third turning of the Dharma wheel teaches the three modes of perception: imputational, other-dependent, and thoroughly established perception. As awareness of these perceptions gradually becomes integrated into our lives, our sense of separation from all that is can become less entrenched. So first, imputational perception. Imputational perception is about naming. With words, we superimpose own selfness on our ever-changing selves and world. We try to grasp emptiness. This isn't necessarily a bad thing as long as we're aware of what we do. We communicate and navigate our world by means of naming. With naming, we try to grasp and solidify the impermanent and constantly flowing nature of life. It is our human nature to do this. By naming, we create the dualism of self and other. By being aware of imputational perception, we see past the naming to the flowing interconnection of life as it is. So now, a little exercise, a very short little meditation to hopefully give us a little taste of imputational perception. And Manuel, I will do the bells for this. And it will just be a little short meditation. And for this exercise, this meditation, it works best to keep your eyes closed, but you don't have to. If you want to keep them open, that's fine. Please take a gently upright posture. Allow the whole body to relax from head to toe like a warm, softening candle. The breath moves naturally. Sit with your breathing for a moment. In a moment, I will ask you to open your eyes. When you see this room again, imagine it without naming. No name for anything you see. Please gently open your eyes and be in this nameless space. So how was that for you? Did you get any little taste of imputational perception? If anybody would like to speak, just let me know. I see Rosemary's hand.
Yeah, it just was a very warm feeling. And it was easy to be there. You know, it wasn't like a real struggle. And so that was that, but just a very, very warm, like my, nervous system was just, yeah, just right. It just felt very, very warm and good. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Did you say it felt easy or it felt difficult? I didn't quite understand.
It was easy to get there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. As far as I know, I was, didn't have a great desire to name or,
Have a great desire to name.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's great. One thing Reb Anderson says, I'll tell you more about this book later. It's a really excellent book. But one thing he says is that we really wear ourselves out with all of this trying to make things something. Anybody else have something they'd like to say before we move on? I don't think so.
I
Okay.
don't see any hands in the Zendo, do I?
I don't see any hands in the Zendo. Okay. So now moving on to other dependent perception. So many of you are familiar with this form of perception. Rib Anderson describes it like this. Other dependent, excuse me, other dependent is simply dependent co-origination of phenomena. Because this exists, that exists. Because this arises, that arises. Because this is produced, that is produced. In other words, what we are, what we experience, everything that is happening in our life depends on something other than itself. Everything is other-powered. Thich Nhat Hanh describes it like this. One thing can manifest only by relying on everything else. A flower can manifest based only on the requisite conditions, the rain, sunshine, soil, and other factors which make its manifestation possible. When we are able to perceive things in the light of interdependence, one day the true nature of reality will reveal itself. And now I'd like for us together to do another little exercise, an exercise on other dependent perception. And again, I'll do the bells. And for this meditation, you can just close or open, hold your eyes the way you usually do for Zazen. Your posture is upright but relaxed. Shoulders melt down your back. Allow the body to gradually relax from head to toe. Enjoy the natural movement of the breath. Please gently place your awareness on the sense of hearing. Without naming or grasping at sounds, simply hear sounds as they arise, as they dissipate. Sounds and hearing arise together. Please sit like this for a little bit. So, how was that? Would anyone like to describe that experience? Anybody in the Zendo or online? Well, I would like to know this. Was it, did you learn anything at all from that experience? Maybe not. If not, I want to know that too. Yes, Rosemary.
Well, that it helped my concentration to focus on just that aspect of the listening and the sound.
Yeah, for me, it widens my sense of concentration because if I'm not grasping at that, like I'm not trying to say, oh, that's a bird singing or that, or it's this or that, it sort of makes my sense of concentration broader. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, Marla?
I just appreciate having a concrete example of dependent co-origination, because sometimes one seems kind of cerebral and the other practical, and you brought them together for me, and I like the sound and hearing being linked in that context.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. And you can do this with any of the senses, and it really sort of brings you to that space of how everything is happening here together. Yeah, Becky?
Whoops.
Got it? Okay. I I followed your first thing that you suggested was that we really are very there. I fell asleep. So I missed the sounds completely.
You can try this another time, anytime.
Thank you.
But you know, and these two perceptions merge together, come together for us creating our dual world. And, as I said before, it's okay. This is how we navigate the world. But, as things arise together and we name them, we're creating duality right there. Oh, yeah, Nelda, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to sort of piggyback off of Marla, but add some more. For a moment, I was a little overwhelmed with the sound ear that, one can't exist without the other, but then immediately noticed all the things that require another. My feet touching the floor, the fan on my skin. And I thought, oh, I'm supposed to stick to just the sound, but it was hard to do that because, but the point being that I was so much more aware of all of those connections that are co-created.
That's right. I'm so happy to hear that. That's what the exercise is, aiming at. Of course, you get whatever you get from these things, like sleep. Can be good too. Let's see. Now, the third perception, thoroughly established perception. Another word for thoroughly established perception is emptiness. Reb Anderson defines thoroughly established perception like this. The way things are thoroughly established is the way they really are, and this way they really are is the suchness of phenomena, the ultimate truth. The thoroughly established character is the fact that our ideas and imputations about the way things are do not actually touch the way things really are. Things are free of our ideas and assumptions. Things are free of the imputations of essences and attributes that we make so that we can talk about what's happening. I'm going to read that last sentence again. Things are free of our ideas and assumptions. Things are free of the imputations of essences and attributes that we make so that we can talk about what's happening. Reb Anderson goes on to say, it's like putting a piece of red cloth under a clear crystal and then thinking the crystal is a ruby. The clearness of the crystal is like emptiness. We superimpose upon it the self-nature of a ruby. We do this constantly with everything. This is how we navigate life. With the third turning teachings, we begin to become aware of what we do moment to moment. We can begin to become simultaneously aware of emptiness, of separate selfness, and what we impute upon emptiness. Prajnaparamita begins to enter our lives moment by moment. We begin to perfect our training in practicing the paramitas. The distinction between giver, gift, and receiver begins to drop away. There is a deep sense of connection. When this kind of giving happens, you feel the difference. And I know all of you have, at some point in time, felt that difference as you practiced Prajnaparamita. Reb Anderson describes the three turnings of the wheel with an old Zen saying. When I was first studying the way, there were mountains and rivers. After I practiced for 30 years, I understood there were no mountains and rivers. Now, finally, there are mountains and rivers again. Then Reb Anderson goes on to say, but these mountains and rivers walk and talk. These mountains and rivers leap through the sky and boogie in the basement. These mountains and rivers are fully realized mountains and rivers because these mountains and rivers are based on the understanding that finally There aren't any mountains and rivers. Knowing these teachings of the third turning of the Dharma wheel is only a first step. Allowing them to permeate our lives and interactions happens gradually over a lifetime. It isn't something that can be taught. It is something we each discover for ourselves. Probably the best support for allowing the third turning teachings into your life is sitting zazen regularly. Another support is simply pausing to remember the three perceptions periodically during the day. Maybe before each meal, whatever works for you. Briefly remembering how deeply connected we all are with an emptiness is a beginning. Allowing Prajnaparamita to come alive moment by moment is the forever practice for each of us. To quote the hymn to the perfection of wisdom, the perfection of wisdom sets in motion the wheel of Dharma. Life as it is becomes fully alive as we wash dishes, chat with a friend, or train in practicing the perfection of patience or any of the perfections. We become full participants in life as it is, as it really is. With the teachings of the third turning of the Wheel of Dharma, we learn to follow the advice of the Shinshin Ming. Don't get tangled in the world. Don't lose yourself in emptiness. Be at peace with the oneness of things. So that's the end of the talk. And I want to highly recommend this book, The Third Turning of the Wheel. It's commentaries on the Samdhinirmocana Sutra, which is a very dense sutra. And this commentary really helps. The Third Turning of the Wheel, Wisdom of the Samdhinirmocana Sutra by Reb Anderson. So let's see how we're doing here. Oh, we're late. Well, thank you all for being.
We aren't late.
Sorry we went long.
We have 12 minutes.
Oh, we do? We're not late. Okay, well, good. I'd love to hear comments, how this hit you, anything you might have to say. Yeah, Nelda.
Oh, Ellen, what a beautiful talk. So beautiful. And it wasn't simply the talk you shared, it was all of you that you brought, your energy that co-created, you're taking something so complex and feeding it to us in a gentle way we could understand. A very rich talk. I'm so grateful for you and your talk. Thank you for this offering. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelda. Thank you a lot. Any other comments? And also in the Zendo.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Hi, Mom.
Thank you, Ellen, for the talk and the exercises. So I'm in the Mahasanga Paramita class, and the books that I'm reading are Diane Rossetto's and Norman Fisher's books.
Mhm.
And both of those books have exercises to go along with the concepts.
Uh-huh.
Were the exercises that you led us from Reb Anderson's book, or did you source those from somewhere else, or did you come up with them?
They were not in Reb Anderson's book, but both of those, I know that the one on other dependent I've done before, and who knows, I've been led in it before. And then the naming, I think I was also led in it recently in an online group that touched on this topic a little bit. And I thought it was a really effective exercise in that perception. Yeah, thank you, Manuel.
Thank you.
We have a comment in the chat from Milen, or a question.
Oh, good.
Milen, I realized you may not have that option of unmuting or something, but Milen, is it okay if
Oh,
I'm gonna go ahead and read it for her. Ellen, when you add at the end, quote unquote, practice daily the three perceptions, unquote, or something like that, can you name again the three perceptions, please?
yeah. Thank you, Milan. That's a good idea. The three perceptions are imputational, other dependent, and the one about emptiness, which is called actual reality. I can't remember what the third one is called. Let's see. Other dependent.
It's like true perception or something like that.
Something like that. I'm
Actual perception.
something like that. And in this very second, I can't find it and I can't remember it. Let's see if I can find it in his book real quick. Ultimate, might be ultimate perception. I'm so sorry, Milan. I'll email you later. Something like that, ultimate perception. Yeah. Yeah. Who raised Marie's hand? And maybe there's someone in the Zendo too.
I think someone
Yes.
in the Zendo can go first. That's
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, it was just had a funny so you know there was a I forget how. Anyways, there was a maybe a few months ago I was talking about something and somebody asked, or I couldn't remember where the source came from, like where the like where I got that from, and the person said, "It's okay. It's codependent origination, anyways. It's just all, you know." Uh, and I don't know. I thought that was funny. Thank you for your talk, Ellen.
Yes. Rosemarie.
Yeah, my question, Ellen, and thank you so much. I love this, and today. I did something new today. I didn't take notes. I just wanted to see what would happen, if I just let it enter and see what I retained. And I was wondering, in our daily life, what would you take from this to yeah, fulfill it, I guess would be a way to activate it, retain it, internalize it, whatever.
Analyze it. Yeah, well, like I said, there's only so much I or anybody can tell you about that. For one thing, I'm a real beginner in this, but even if I weren't, I think it's not. I actually asked a teacher to help me with this very question, like, okay, and I was told I was on my own.
Okay, that's a good answer.
But I will say that I think that there are supports for it. And like I mentioned in the talk, like just find a way to take a moment in the day to remember these perceptions. You just see the world through those eyes, to see what you're creating here together, in this world, and what you're imputing onto what's really is.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Nelda.
More and more with this practice, I go through my day saying the story I'm telling myself, the story I'm telling myself, or when I'm with someone and we're talking, it's the story I'm telling myself. And last night, we were driving in a car and looked up at the sky and there was this object that was just soaring through space. And I said, look, the story I'm telling myself is that's a spaceship. And in the span of 30 seconds, we made up 10 stories we were telling ourselves about that particular object. And I use that as a good example of how many stories we tell ourselves all day long. So your talk is about that, the story I tell myself, and realizing the stories we tell ourselves and pulling back from them and trying to the best of our ability to connect with it, with what is there right now beyond those curtains. And that's why I so enjoyed this today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a really a good story. Yeah, thank you. I think, unless there are more comments, I think we're probably ready to end.